The Ugly Duckling, based on the children's fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen, illustrated by Gerardo, Baro. It was summer. The sunlight was shining golden on the wheat and barley fields. Bees were buzzing around the flowers, which formed colorful carpets over the fields and mountains. The chirping of the crickets was all around. Nearby, in an old farm, a duck was sitting on a nest of eggs. The mother-to-be was sure her ducklings would soon hatch. She could feel them moving inside the shells. Finally, one after another, the eggs began to crack. "Quack, quack," said the ducklings as they pushed their heads out through the shells. "Quack, quack," answered their mother. But why was that big dark egg still sitting there in one piece? "How strange," said the mother. "Where did that come from?" "It must be a turkey egg," said the duck's friend. "Perhaps she put it in your nest while you were asleep." The mystery was soon solved. The big dark egg cracked to reveal a huge chick. It was rather clumsy and quite ugly. "How strange you are!" exclaimed the other ducklings when they saw him. Mother Duck collected her 5 children together and took them to the pond. The mother was delighted when she saw how well the ugly, big-headed duckling could swim. "He might not be very good looking, but he is the best swimmer. No one could think he is a turkey now," she said, relieved. After the swim, Mother Duck went to the farm to introduce her children to the other animals. "You have some beautiful ducklings," said the pig, seeing them arrive. "Well, not all of them. That one there is the ugliest duckling I've seen in my life," she said, pointing at the big-headed chick. "He may not be pretty, but he is very good and loving," replied Mother Duck, deeply offended. "But we don't like monsters around here," squawked a conceited hen. "Go away!" "Yes, yes, go away!" shouted all the animals together. The poor scared duckling went to hide under his mother's wing. "I'm so ugly," he thought. "It would be better if I left." So, that same night, the duckling left the farm. After walking for several hours, the ugly duckling came to some marshland. He thought he would only meet dragonflies and frogs. But what a surprise! Just as he got to the water's edge, he heard a familiar splashing sound. "Honk! They're wild ducks!" he honked happily. "They might want to be my friends." Without a second thought, the duckling went over to the birds. "Whoa! Where did you come from?" exclaimed the leader of the flock when he saw him. "Don't think we want anyone as ugly as you to be our friend." And after laughing at him for a good while, the wild ducks flew off. The ugly duckling could not sleep all night. Why had those wild ducks behaved like that? What harm had he done to them? Were all the animals in the world as cruel as those on the farm? Dawn broke. The ugly duckling's gaze followed 2 geese that had been flying happily around the marsh for some time. Suddenly, a frightful noise broke the silence of the morning. Bang! Bang! A hunting party in the marsh! The ugly duckling hid himself amongst the reeds. The poor thing was so frightened that he did not notice a hunter's dog had picked up his trail. And suddenly, there it was, right in front of him. Seeing it so big, with its mouth so full of teeth, the little duckling started to tremble. The dog sniffed him and watched him curiously for a while. And after several minutes, which seemed like centuries to the duckling, the dog left without doing him any harm. The duckling sighed in relief. "Phew, I am so ugly that even dogs won't eat me," he thought. The duckling waited for the hunters and their dogs to go before leaving his hiding place and fleeing from the marsh. He was alone again. He set off aimlessly. He wandered for a long time until he came across an old shack that looked abandoned. "I'll spend the night here," he said. "My feet are very sore and I'm tired out." The duckling did not think twice. He opened the shack door with one of his wings and settled down a pile of dry straw. He fell asleep straight away. But the house was not abandoned. Very early in the morning, a chicken and a cat discovered the duckling. The three animals made such a ruckus that the owner of the cottage, a little old lady with poor eyesight, went over to see what all the noise was about. "What good luck I have!" exclaimed the lady when she saw the duckling. "If you lay lots of eggs, you can stay in my house." And she put the surprised duckling onto a nest of straw. But every morning, the nest remained empty. And every morning, the old lady scolded the duckling for not laying any eggs. Until one day, the duckling decided to tell the old lady the truth. "You see, good lady, I cannot lay eggs because I am not a duck. The only thing I do well is swim and dive." "How you have tricked me!" screeched the old lady in a steaming bad temper. "Get out of my sight, you good for nothing!" And the ugly duckling had to leave the old lady's shack. Autumn arrived. The leaves fell from the trees and the wind swirled them in the air. How lonely the little duckling felt! How he missed his mother and his family! One day, he saw a flock of birds flying through the sky on their way to the warm lands of the south. They had long, slim necks. They were swans. The duckling had a funny feeling. It was like he had dreamed the scene a long time ago. "Oh, if only I could fly with them," he thought sadly. "But how could they accept someone as ugly as me?" Autumn turned to winter. Snow fell. Little by little, the world was covered in a thick white blanket. A great blizzard surprised the duckling as he swam on the lake. He could hardly move his legs, and he swam around and around in the water to keep himself from freezing. He barely had the strength to keep swimming. As luck would have it, a laborer who was passing by rescued the duckling from the ice. The poor animal was half frozen, but that good man laid him against his chest to keep him warm and took him home with him. The duckling was joyfully received by the laborer's wife and children, and with their care and attention, the little animal soon recovered. One day, the children decided to play with their new pet, but the ugly duckling did not find their games at all funny, and he ran off through the house. What a mess they made! To escape his pursuers, the duckling dashed into the kitchen where he knocked over a milk churn. When the children's mother saw the damage, she threw her hands in the air. Frightened by the woman shouting, the poor duckling took refuge in a sack of flour and before long had accidentally trailed it around the whole house. "Come here, unruly duck!" shouted the woman. "When I get hold of you, you're going in the stew pot." The duckling ran as fast as he could from that madhouse. He was soon aware of the winter cold again. Shivering, covered in snow, with his feathers nearly frozen together, he found a hideaway in an old badger tunnel. "This is my last chance," he thought. The ugly duckling slipped into the tunnel and snuggled up to the badger's furry body. And there, protected and warm, the little bird fell into a deep sleep. The duckling awoke from his long rest. He crept out of the tunnel on tiptoe so as not to wake his friend, the badger. Once outside, he began to beat his wings, which had grown long and strong with the passage of time, and found he could fly. He came to a marvelous park. He could hear birds singing endlessly against a backdrop of brightly colored flowers. In the trees, squirrels were playing chase. Spring had arrived. Then, immediately below him, the duckling saw 3 swans swimming majestically around the lake. I am so ugly that those birds will probably peck me to death. But I don't care. I'm going to land on the lake and swim right up to them, he thought. The duckling landed on the water and swam towards the swans with his head down, not daring to look them in the face. But wait a minute! What was that he could see in the water? The reflection looking back at the duckling was a beautiful white swan. Yes, over the long winter, that ugly, graceless duckling had turned into a beautiful swan, the most handsome and elegant of all those on the lake. "Hey, look! There's a new swan on the lake!" shouted some children from the bank. And hearing the shouts of the children, people walking in the park joined them on the bank to admire the new swan's beauty. And so, the poor animal who had been teased so harshly for being different and who had survived such tough adventures was never again made to feel either sad or lonely. Who would have imagined that one day that ugly duckling could be so happy? He thought with real joy in his heart. The end.
Hi everybody! If you like this video, subscribe here for more. Bye!